everybody, so we've got a fun review today as we're discussing Ahsoka. Now, this is by far one of my most anticipated Star Wars projects in quite some time, mainly due to the fact that I have been a lifelong fan of Ahsoka Tano, and especially Star Wars Rebels. The Ghost Crew at large are one of my favorite band of characters, and in essence, this show felt like it was going to be, in some ways, a continuation of Star Wars Rebels, and I felt like that'd be exciting to see now that we're going to take these characters into live action. After the fall of the Galactic Empire, former Jedi Knight Ahsoka Tano investigates an emerging threat to a vulnerable galaxy. Now, all of my thoughts are based around the first two episodes of Ahsoka. Those are the two episodes that are going to be dropping tonight on Disney Plus in prime time. I'm really glad they're choosing to showcase these episodes in prime time, as opposed to being in America, you're either going to be staying up till midnight or 3 a.m. in my case, being on the East Coast. So I'm glad they decided to change that. But going just off these first two episodes of Ahsoka, I honestly couldn't ask for a much better experience. It gives you everything that you want from a Star Wars show, and continuing on from the conclusion of Star Wars Rebels, while still building further plot threads with an engaging narrative that's set up with new villains, while also we are building up to the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. In essence, this pretty much is a Season 5 of Rebels, just with a much grander scope and scale, taking everything into live action, which is enthralling. There are a plethora of fantastic chase sequences and amazing lightsaber battles early on that are just an absolute blast to witness unfold because of how cinematic this show looks. By far one of the best looking Star Wars shows to date. Even outside of all of the fun action bits in these first two episodes, the story at large is extremely intriguing, getting to see how it's being set up, and the heart of the story I found so fascinating. Obviously, there's still a lot of story to be uncovered in the 6 episodes that follow these two, but I'm very intrigued on where it goes, just because we are getting the band back together, if you will, while also introducing new characters, new villains, and a lot of other stuff to the mythology. Now, I have been on the hype train for Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano in live action since the very beginning. I've loved each time she's popped up, whether it be in The Mandalorian or the episode of the Book of Boba Fett, which pretty much was another episode of The Mandalorian, but we've not really got to see a whole lot of her in live action until this series, and I think that it's great to see her shine in her own solo series. Whether it's in the Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels, we've seen a lot of Ahsoka Tano's journey, and we're just going to continue to delve deeper into that in her own solo series, and I love the journey we're going on so far as we dive deeper into her character and diving deeper into the Force and the lingering pain after the events of Rebels, because as I alluded to earlier, Ahsoka and the Ghost Crew at large aren't together at this point. They've kind of drifted apart. We kind of have to figure out what happened in between, because it happened in an interval of time that wasn't shown, which is kind of a frustrating element to these first two episodes, that we kind of have to get the band back together. They aren't together at the very beginning, and you have these new villains introduced, and Ray Stevenson's character. Speaking more on Ray Stevenson's character, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, they are some pretty cool antagonists. What we've seen so far of them in these first two episodes, the way that they're set up, they are very downright menacing villains that I'm excited to see how they unfold over the rest of these episodes. I think they're going to be some fan favorite characters. It honestly makes the show a bit more sad, given the fact that Ray Stevenson has passed away and his character is so cool. Now, slowly we've seen over time these Disney Plus shows have been bringing these animated characters into live action, whether it be Bo-Katan or Ahsoka, or even Zeb was in The Mandalorian Season 3. Now we're getting a whole entire cast of characters in the Star Wars Rebels cast, and I think they perfectly embody these characters in live action. Whether it's Chopper brought to life, or Hera Syndulla played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which I think is perfect casting. The one I think is the greatest of them all is Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Sabine Wren. Sabine was one of my favorite characters in Rebels, and she continues to excel in a live action format. I love where we've taken the characters so far in these first few episodes. Other than Ahsoka, in my opinion, she has some of the coolest scenes and the most intriguing story progression. Some very strong potential growth seeing her and Ahsoka's bond. Plus, in the meantime that we've seen her, she's been training with the lightsaber, Ezra's lightsaber to be exact, which makes for some pretty badass action sequences. Now, this is an 8-episode season, so there's still a lot of story left to be told in the 6 episodes that I haven't seen, but I'm liking the pacing so far overall because the story is pretty much taking its time. I don't want to say necessarily that it's slow, but it is setting up a lot in the first episode. I mean, I think both episodes 1 and 2 are mostly exciting, but I definitely can see why they chose to debut 2 episodes this week as opposed to just episode 1, because episode 1 very much is setting up everything. The characters, characters, the conflict, the villains. Then with episode 2, the story gets rolling a little bit faster. While this isn't a problem that I necessarily have because I have watched Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars, there is that concern going into this if a casual fan of Star Wars could just hop into Ahsoka and not having to watch the episodes of the Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels. I definitely think you could jump into Ahsoka without that knowledge, but I do feel that if you have watched Star Wars Rebels, your experience watching Ahsoka will be deeply enhanced because there are a lot of references and Easter eggs to Star Wars Rebels that I think you might not get just because there was a lot of lore and mythology within Star Wars Rebels. Plus, a large amount of the Ahsoka cast was introduced in Rebels, so if you haven't watched Rebels, or if you've watched a little bit of Rebels but you're not caught up till the very end, I highly recommend checking it out. If you're watching Ahsoka on Disney+, Star Wars Rebels is also on Disney+, so if you want to check them both out, they're going to both be there. Yeah, so far, Ahsoka's first 2 episodes are very promising. I love the direction we're taking the character. Ahsoka Tano continues to shine in a way that is very rare for a Star Wars character. With these first 2 episodes, I think it's going to be so exciting to see the story unfold. And in prime time, we can watch it in prime time, at least in the US. I'm sorry for pretty much anybody else in the world because now everything's flipped. Now we're watching it in prime time and they're watching it in the middle of the night. But I'm still very excited to talk about this show in the future with you guys week to week, so stay tuned for that on the channel as the episodes drop per week. But now you've heard my thoughts on Ahsoka's first 2 episodes. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What do you think of the episodes? Did you like the episodes? Did you not like the episodes? Share all your thoughts down below, and if you have any predictions of where we're going to go for the rest of the season, make sure you share those as well. And thank you guys, as always, for that videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. For next time, I'll see you guys later.